Hi folks, I'm Oliver. I'm from Germany. I'm leading the German data platform community. My topic today is something, I don't know, I think everybody knows this, but I don't know how much people care on it and how much people are involved with it, especially when you are from the data platform. Most of the time, or sometimes, this is more to people like, hey, this is something infrastructure guys have to do or something like this. It goes on the topic of monitoring and any kind of log that you need to have for your analytics. So the next 10 minutes, I'm trying to speak a little bit about what kind of possibilities we have in the Azure world to do monitoring and logging any kind of stuff that we are using in the data platform itself. And speaking of that, let's jump into things like, for example, if we are looking at these architectures that we have, and you see two architectures. One is a sample from Microsoft, and the other one is also a template that Microsoft provides, formerly known as Enterprise Scale Analytics. You see that in these kind of architecture templates, every time there is something in here that is called, for example, Azure Monitor, or in the Enterprise Scale Analytics, you see something that is called Log Analytics. And the purpose of these elements are really to capture anything that is happening here. So any kind of, let's say, stuff that's happening on the storage side, anything that happens in your ADF or in your Databricks clusters, because you are interested in what's going on, if there's a failure, if there's any kind of problem, if there is a performance bottleneck or something like this, you want to know this, and you want to see what's going on more in detail, etc., etc. And for that reason, Microsoft has set up a functionality, a service that we can use to do this. And you already see this on this side. And for me, it was when I started looking into these things, I was a little bit confused by, hey, what is log analytics and what is Azure Monitor? What can I do with Monitor? Is this also monitoring my logs, or what is this all about? So I thought it's quite good to give this as a kind of 10-minute session and tell you a little bit about it and give you some kind of differentiation and where to use what, etc., etc. So let's have a look into this. So now what Microsoft is saying. Microsoft is saying, okay, Azure Monitor helps you to maximize availability and performance of your applications. Wow, that's cool. Of course, they say as well, yes, this kind of solution gives you a possibility to collect stuff, to analyze and act on telemetry that you collect. But what does this mean? So let's have a look into a little graphic that Microsoft is providing. And you see on the left side, you have these kind of application operating Azure resources, etc. And then you have this kind of overall Azure monitoring functionality. And you see that you have here Azure Monitor and you have here Log Analytics. So this means Log Analytics is part of the Azure Monitor portfolio, which is currently the portfolio is things like you've got the insights of it. You can visualize stuff that happens with your telemetry. You can analyze this by doing some kind of fancy queries, etc. You can also do things like, okay, I want to have an alert because my Azure Data Factory pipeline just crashed or something like this, and I want to wake up at night at 3 o'clock because I get an alert, I have to run to my computer and have to fix this because in the morning everything has to be fine. And on the other side, I also have functionalities to integrate, like, okay, if there is this kind of problem, it should be a ticket in ServiceNow, for example, so my help desk can work on that. So mainly this kind of overall portfolio in Azure Monitor includes a lot of things. And yeah, you need to know a little bit how to set that up. So if we go into it and have a look, you see on the left side we have different services, different Azure resources, and each of the Azure resources will provide some kind of information that can be monitored within in Azure Monitor. And you see there are two elements in here. One is called metrics and the other one is called logs. And this went into this whole stuff of different functionalities in Azure Monitor. So let's have a look into what this means for us at the data platform. So for example, for a data factory or Synapse or something like this, or Custo or Purview. So metrics are something like numerical values, and they are really, this is a kind of data stream that is lightweight, small, so you can do some kind of real-time analytics on it. You see, for example, the CPU threshold, or you see any kind of activities directly in it. So Microsoft is trying to do this at a small scale, so you get this in a real-time manner. On the other side, you get logs. Yeah? And of course, you know what logs are, because you have logs since IT exists. Every system tries to write some stuff somewhere into a storage that gives you the possibility to look after it if you install something, or if you run something, that you see later on what's going on, and that you may have the possibility to understand what the problem is. And exactly this is the case here. You have the possibility just to analyze in a certain kind of storage what happened. Yeah. And for that, you have different applications within the Azure Monitor environment. You can do the metrics analysis graphically in a metrics explorer. So you can see, for example, for different metrics like integration runtime, CPU, or any kind of pipeline runs or something like this for the data factory, you can analyze this in time. Most of the time, you can go back, let's say, some kind of days in it. And on the other side, you have this log analytics part, where you have a log analytics workspace where you can save these logs into it. And yeah, you can do some fancy queries on it. And for any one of you who knows Custo already, there is this kind of Custo or Data Explorer, as it today, engine in the background that gives you the possibility to do all of these things. Now, having a look to what kind of data is provided by each of the services. So each of the services have a different portfolio of metrics that they provide that maybe are specific to them. Yeah, you also have that for, let's say, the Azure environment itself. That's for your subscription, etc. So every deployment you do into the subscription, this will be tracked as well. But as we are looking at the data platform, just an example for the data factory, you have something, a metric like activity, failed runs, pipeline failed runs, SSIS packages, etc. that you run. So you have all of these elements, and you get all of these information in metrics, but also in logs, so you can analyze this. And this is called Diagnostic Settings. So you can, each of these services, if you go into the service and look for Diagnostic Settings, you see exactly what there is in. And if you want to store that, you have two types of storage. So on the one side, you can say, hey, I'm doing this storage long-term. I put that into a storage account, so all my logs are running into a storage account, or I place that in a so-called log analytic workspace, where I have this kind of Custo query engine in the background, and I can run this, and I can do some kind of ad hoc analysis on it, and I can do some kind of KQL queries on that. I can do this as well if I put this together in a whole landscape. So I can also query these storage accounts where I put the logs into. So I have that on the long term, and I can use also the Custo or the Data Explorer to analyze these files in it. And on the short term, I can use the functionality of log analytics. Of course, log analytics and the workspace has a price. Yeah? So with this, we have the metrics and logs coming from the data platform. We analyze them short or long term. We have the possibility as well to include other things like Databricks, SAP, or Snowflake logs in the storage account where we can query that, and we can set up alerts on it and think what happens when something bad is produced. We can immediately see it, and it's all in Azure integrated. That's it. All right. So if you have questions, yeah, please, you find me on Twitter as well. And there's a lot of documentation in Azure in the docs. So yeah, go ahead and have a look to this.